Hello everyone. We welcome you all for our YouTube channel of SciX Online Academy of Science. So today we're gonna bring you the video presentation of grade 11 science and living tissues, and all what you need is a summary. So we do it via the SciX Online Academy of Sciences. So just in 15 minutes, we're gonna discuss the plant tissues. So let's go into the video. Okay, students, very first, let's take the first topic, tissue. Organisms are made up of cells. Cell is the basic building unit of organism, that is the structural and the functional unit of organisms. A number of cells together modifies to form up a tissue. So accordingly, the definition that we are giving for a tissue is a group of cells with a common origin, organized or modified to perform a specific function, a particular function. It is known as a tissue. So these tissues we take, it is present in all living organisms. So we're gonna divide these tissues into two as plant tissues and animal tissues. So today in our topic, we're gonna take the plant tissues in a summarized way. Basically, the plant tissues we divide into two as meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. So how do we divide this? We divide the plant tissues basically depending on their ability of cell division. So if the plant tissues can divide furthermore, if they do have the ability of cell division furthermore, they are categorized, they are named as meristematic tissues. If they cannot divide furthermore, if they lack the cell division ability, they are termed as permanent tissues. So these meristematic tissues, we divide furthermore into three categories as apical meristem, lateral meristem, and inter-calorie meristems. Meanwhile, the permanent tissues, we divide them into two as simple permanent tissues and complex permanent tissues. So if it contains a similar type of cells on a one type of cells, they are said to be the simple permanent tissues. If they do have several types of cells, they are called complex permanent tissues. So simple permanent tissues, furthermore, we divide them into three as parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma tissue. As well, the complex permanent tissues, there are two types as Xylem tissue and Flow Embryo tissue. So the first one, the meristematic tissues. So the meristematic tissues, we said they are the plant tissues with the ability of cell division. And based on the location, we divide them into three as apical meristem, inter-calorie meristem, and lateral meristem. When we take the common features of these meristematic tissues, all these meristematic tissues, they are living small-sized cells. And they do have a distinct nucleus in each of these cells. No intercellular spaces are present or they are not prominent. As well, they do have a larger number of mitochondria present. There is no larger central vacuole present. There may be small vacuoles present. So these are some common characteristics of meristematic tissues. So where are they positioned? Apical meristem. They are divided into two as the root apex and the shoot apex. The bottom of the root, it is formed up by the root apical meristem, the root apex we say, as well as the top of the shoot, the stem, it is said to be the shoot apex, the shoot apical meristem. So what they do, they can divide the cells and grow up, so they increase the height. The shoot apex will be growing upward while the root apex will let the plant grow downwards. So accordingly, the height of the plant would be increased, and that is the function carried out by apical meristem. Apart from these, apical meristems are found in axillary buds too. And the second type of tissue here is inter-calorie meristem. And these are found in between the nodes of the plant, the internodes of the stem. So what they do, they increase the length between the nodes, they increase the length of internodes. So that is the function carried out by inter-calorie meristem. And the third one is the lateral meristem. They are found parallel in the longitudinal axis of a plant, laterally to the plant root as well as the plant stem. So what they do, they divide the cells and let the plant to grow by increasing its diameter. So the function carried out by lateral meristem is to increase the diameter of the plant stem and plant root. So these are the common characteristics and the functions of the three types of meristematic tissues. So the next type we are heading up with the permanent tissues, the tissues which cannot be divided furthermore. So there are two types of permanent tissues. We said there are the simple permanent tissues as well the complex permanent tissues. So simple permanent tissues, they do have only one type of or similar types of cells. So we divide them into three according to their cell nature as well the cell wall nature too we take here. So the parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, these are the three types of simple permanent tissues. So we're going to take one by one. The first one, the simple permanent tissue here is the parenchyma. So the parenchyma tissue you take, these cells are living as well. They are isodiametric cells. They do have a thin cell wall made up of cellulose. And there are intercellular spaces present between these cells. They do have a nucleus. There is a cytoplasm. So here on this diagram, you can observe both the longitudinal as well the transverse section of parenchyma cells. And you should be able to draw a rough diagram as well to label the parts of these parenchyma tissue. So where are they found? Simply, they are found in the fresh parts of fruits, as well the cortex and the pith of plant stem and the plant root and the mesophyll leaves and the endosperms, the seeds. So what are the functions of this parenchyma? They carry out photosynthesis since they contain chlorophyll pigments. There are two types of parenchyma here present in leaves. They are palisade parenchyma and spongy parenchyma. So they can carry out photosynthesis. The second factor is storage of food. Food can be stored in parenchyma tissue, so they are called storage tissues too, such as carrot, sweet potato. These are few examples. All right, and also they can conserve water. When you take xerophytic plants, they store water, so that would be helpful for them to survive in arid environmental conditions. And also they provide an additional mechanical support. It is due to what is present within the vacuoles, and that gives a turgid nature, a rough nature, so it provides an additional mechanical support. So this is all about the parenchyma tissue, the first type of simple permanent tissue, collenchyma tissue. So collenchyma tissues, they are the modified parenchyma tissues. So they do have a polygonal shaped cells. They do have a nucleus. They are having a cytoplasm. Also, they do have a central vacuole. And sometimes there may be intercellular spaces present, or sometimes may not present. When it comes to the cell wall, they do have a primary cell wall made up of cellulose, plus only at the edges, the corners, they have been thickened by lignin, a secondary substance. So the secondary growth of the cell wall is present, limited only at the edges, the corners of these polygonal cells of collenchyma. So where are they found? They are found in the herbaceous plant stems, as well they are found in the dipot veins. So that is why the plant leaves, when you take only at the dipot veins, the vein areas are a bit thicker than the soft part of the plant leaf. And their functions are, since they are modified parenchyma cells, they also carry out photosynthesis. And they do supply an additional mechanical support too. So these are the two functions of parenchyma tissues. So let's move up with the third type of simple permanent tissue. So the sclerenchyma tissue you take, this is the only non-living or the dead cell under simple permanent tissue. So they become dead. It's because of not only the thin cell wall made up of cellulose is present, but there is an evenly distributed cell wall, a secondary cell wall made up of lignin. So a lignified cell wall is present in sclerenchyma, which forms up a central lumen too. This is a special nature of sclerenchyma tissues. And when you take the cells, cells are tightly packed, and so there is no intercellular spaces present among the cells. And there are two types of sclerenchyma tissues. They are said to be the fibers as well as the sclereids. So you can observe the difference between them. Fibers are narrower and longer cells, while the sclereids are shorter and wider cells. And fibers, when you take, they are present in the xylem and the phloem tissues as xylem fibers and phloem fibers. Other than that, as coconut fibers, agave fibers are also they are found. And when it comes to sclerites, they are found as endocarp and pericarp of certain plant fruits, and also they are found as the seed coats. And the major function of this parenchyma tissue is they provide additional mechanical support for the plant body. So these are the characteristics and the functions of simple permanent tissue. Let's head up with the next type of permanent tissue, and that is complex permanent tissue. The complex permanent tissues, they do have several types of cells among them. So they are divided initially into two as the xylem tissue and the phloem tissue. So the first one is the xylem tissue we take. Xylem tissue, it is the tissue organized to perform the transportation of water and minerals throughout the plant body. And the xylem tissue is made up of four types of cells. They are xylem vessel elements, tracheids, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. And when we take the xylem vessel elements and the tracheids, they do have some similarities as well as differences. So you can observe here, tracheids are narrower and longer than the xylem vessel elements. And both of them, they do have pits. And when it comes to xylem vessel elements, these vessel elements, one over another, they are interconnected in order to form the xylem vessel tube. Between each of these xylem vessel elements, there is a perforation plate present. So the water as well the mineral transportation is continuously taken place. So simply these two cells, the xylem vessel elements and the tracheids, they are important in water transmission along with minerals. And the next one, xylem parenchyma, since it is a parenchymatic cell, it can store food. And the next one, xylem fiber, since it is a sclerenchymatic cell, it will be supplying an additional mechanical support. When we take all these cells, the only living cell in xylem tissue is the xylem parenchyma, while all other three are non-living cells. Next, we are heading up with the second type of complex permanent tissue, that is the phloem tissue. This is the tissue organized to perform the function of translocation of food throughout the plant. The food produced by the plant leaves will be carried out throughout the plant by phloem tissue, and this phloem tissue is made up of four types of cells. They are the sieve tube elements, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. So among these four cells, when we take, only one cell is non-living, and that is a phloem fibers, while all other three cells are living cells. And there is a relationship between the sieve tube elements and companion cells. So sieve tube elements, they lack a nucleus, though they are living. So to maintain its biological activities, the nucleus present in companion cell is important. And also the sieve tube elements, one by one over another, they are fixed up, and between them they do have sieve plates. So along the sieve plates, the function of phloem tissue is maintained. And here too, when you compare the sieve tubes and the companion cells, there is a difference between their size and shape. So we compare both these xylem and phloem tissue at last. Xylem tissue and phloem tissue. Xylem tissue made up of 4 cells, while phloem tissue is also made up of 4 cells. So both the cells, they contain a parenchyma. They are important in food storage. Both the cells, they contain a fiber called xylem fiber and phloem fiber. They are important in supplying an additional mechanical support. And you can observe here in xylem tissue, water transmission is carried out from the roots upward throughout the body until it reaches the plant leaf. And in phloem tissue, you can observe the translocation of food is carried out in two-way flow downward and upward between the plant leaves and the roots. Meanwhile, it supplies throughout the plant body. So this is how we give you a summary under plant tissues in unit number 1, living tissues in grade 11 science. Subscribe our YouTube channel, SciX Online Academy of Sciences, and click on the bell icon too to get new updates about the videos.